Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Joey LaFell, and welcome to BDW's first ever podcast. I'm here coming at you live from the dungeon within. Before we introduce our special guest, this first episode of BDW Podcast is brought to you by Konami. Pick up your starter deck today and join the Brotherhood's Yu-Gi-Oh! Advanced format. If you're a Yu-Gi-Oh! Player, you're probably a soda drinker, so kick back, relax, and grab yourself a Dr. Topper. Pitch in $1 before the next Brotherhood get-together and enjoy a sweet, refreshing taste of carbonated soda. Now on to our show. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcoming to not only Chairman Thomas, but also Kid Thomas, aka the man himself, Tom Eberly.
Joey, thank you for having me here tonight. You know, it really is an honor to be on the first BDW podcast. Let me just say how proud I am of the company. Its evolution back from 2007, starting off as just a regular backyard wrestling industry, and now we are doing podcasts for everyone to keep this business as entertaining as possible, and it's just awesome.
Well, it's an honor to have you here on the show, Kid. Mind if I call you Kid? I know you have a lot of different nicknames nowadays.
Yeah, that's fine.
Sounds good. So, Kid, I'm going to get right down to business. When I found out you were going to be on the show, I told myself I'd keep this segment for last, but I just can't wait. Is Mauro Raimondi okay? We've never experienced such open wounds like this one to the point where we had to cancel BDW for the night. What's in store for him? And is he going to be back for the next reunification? And what's this mean for the safety of the BDW roster?
Wow, you know, that's a really good question, Joey. First and foremost, let me just say that Mauro Raimondi is completely healthy. He's fine. His diagnosis was just a 3.5 centimeter gash. It looked a lot worse than what it appeared to be. I think we canceled the show more so of the fact that we were down 3 top superstars versus Mauro Raimondi's injury. Mauro pulled me to the side shortly after the whole incident happened, and he told me that he was ready to get back to action. And it was when I told him, we're not going to continue for tonight. You're way too hurt. We don't have enough guys to continue the show. And he understood it. He was fine. But just the fact, Joey, that he was ready to get back in the ring after he was all bandaged up just goes to show that he was fine. He's a superstar. And you know what? It was scary what we all went through, but that's the risk that we take. And that's going to be the answer to your next question, the safety of the BDW roster. Safety is one of our number one priorities here. We try to match up mid-carders with mid-carders and main eventers with main eventers for that purpose, not only to keep it entertaining, but for safety. I'm not going to pair a really experienced guy with an inexperienced guy that doesn't really know what he's doing. Mid-carders with mid-carders, main eventers with main eventers. This will ensure that safety will always be a priority when we're in the basement.
Well, that answered most of my questions. Thank you. I just have one more question that's more geared towards you. What was going through your mind when you saw blood coming out of the head of Mauro Raimondi?
Joey, I gotta tell you, it was a very uncomfortable feeling. The last thing that I recall was TKOing Mauro onto a steel chair in our last man standing match, and he shot forward about 4 feet to the corner, got down for the 10 count. I thought that was a part of the plan originally. And then it wasn't until Nate then pointed out, guys, his head. And I looked down and I got really nervous. I got to be honest with you. I got really nervous. I thought, we're going to have to rush this guy to the hospital. I don't know what to do in these situations. How bad actually is it? He's got a lot of hair covering the wound. Should I get in there now? He was down for a 10 count. Was he down because he was acting, or was he down because was he really unconscious? I remember we all got towards him and he wasn't making any sort of motions or gestures or acknowledging the fact that he had people gathering around him. It wasn't until I said, dude, are you okay? And I saw his head kind of turn towards me a little bit. Eyes were still closed. And he brought his fist towards his head and he gave me a thumbs up. And then it was then when I thought, oh, thank God. I thought that was something that I did, which is something that also I wanted to talk about, the safety of our wrestlers. This was something that was not planned. It was not something that I did to Morrow. Morrow has clarified it with mostly everyone already. The fact of the matter is that he underestimated his own strength after bouncing off the chair, and he shot himself too far towards the corner, where there was the turnbuckle chair that wasn't supposed to be, about a foot more closer to where the action was. So ultimately what it was him underestimating his own strength, and also just poor product placement when we were conducting our last man standing earlier in that match.
All right. Glad to hear that Mauro Raimondi will be okay. Now moving on to our next subject. What in the hell were the writing staff thinking ending Daniel Hayden's match like that?
Joey, I actually have a few things I want to talk about pertaining to that subject. First and foremost, Daniel Hayden was going into that match not knowing what the hell the outcome was supposed to be, what was going on. When I talked to Antonio Hayden after that match, he told me that he took care of the communication portion to get that information to Daniel to let him know what was happening. However, I had nothing to do with that communication, and for that, I take full responsibility. Not for the whole match, but just for the communication piece of it. Regardless of the fact that Daniel did not know what was going on, it is our moral obligation as wrestlers and entertainers to give the Brotherhood quite the performance. And if you don't know what's going on, that still does not entitle you to just end a match like that, where you can say, oh, I don't know what's going on, so I'm just going to end the match and be done with it. No, we are entertainers. We are performers. And that I do not take responsibility for. I think Daniel Hayden has a lot of potential in him, even though he doesn't know what the outcome of that match was supposed to be, or he didn't know. He should damn well know that it wasn't supposed to end like that. I'll tell you exactly what was supposed to happen. Daniel was scheduled to win that match. As a matter of fact, I'll just tell you what was supposed to happen overall. Daniel Hayden was going to win that match later on to face the Demolisher, who was going to defeat Daniel and end the streak. We were going to do like this little bit where Demolisher joins the force. Demolisher beats him. Demolisher gets a title shot. Daniel Hayden comes back. Daniel Hayden comes back, seeks vengeance, and faces Chairman Thomas at Wrestle Madness. We're dropping that whole bit, only for the sole reason that Daniel Hayden has other opportunities right now that he needs to focus on, and a rivalry like this would only interfere with him learning those opportunities. We do look for a rivalry between the chairman and a wrestler sometime in the near future. We do not have that scripted yet, but it is something that Antonio and I have definitely talked about. But that is something that was not planned. It could have been planned a lot better. Like I said, lack of communication on my end, but also poor effort on Daniel Hayden's end.
So, do you think dropping this great feud is really a good idea?
I can't answer that. I don't have the definite answer. What I can tell you is the thought process that went behind the whole ordeal, and that thought process was, we are 3 months away from Wrestle Madness. You figure Wrestle Madness in April, 3 months away, January. There is no way we can develop a character in that amount of time to get the rivalry to meet or exceeds the expectations of what everyone was hoping for. You just can't. We feel like we need to get someone more of that caliber of a level to deliver the expectations that everyone wants to see.
Now, following up to my next question, what's been going on with Aiden Pierce? We've only seen him one out of the last 3 get-togethers, and rumors spread. Is his short-lived career coming to an end?
Well, Joey, you're just full of great questions tonight. I have talked with Aiden Pierce a little bit on the matter. Unfortunately, Aiden is undergoing some personal issues that I am obligated to not discuss with BDW roster and the Brotherhood. Just respect for the individual right there. I know Antonio has talked to him a little bit about it. He knows more than I do. But as far as Aiden is concerned, he is here to stay, and he will be here come January 30th. He has all the plans in the world to show up, and his career is just beginning as far as I feel about the matter.
All right. Well, thank you very much, kid. One last question. Got any sneak peeks of what's going on in 2016 for the viewers and I?
No, Joey, that you will have to tune in on January 30th. However, I can share with you the new BDW theme song for its season premiere, Dragula by Rob Zombie.
All right, kid. Thank you very much. And we're going to close this episode of the podcast by playing Dragula by Rob Zombie.